Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today, we're discussing a watch from the mid to late 2000s, made in 28 pieces in white gold. This is the Roger Dubuis Chronoexcel Tourbillon, and it is difficult to classify. All of the features, from the case to the dial to the movement, Geneva seal, by the way, are executed at a level of watchmaking virtuosity. The craft quality is unquestionable. The style, though, is bombastic and verging on politically incorrect. Thus, it's almost like a Rolls-Royce Cullinan or a Cadillac Escalade V or a Range Rover Carmel Edition for your wrist. If you've got the style to pull off one of those, your watch has arrived. Roll on up, because this watch is going to take a while to describe. It's big. 45 millimeters in diameter, but somehow it wears even larger. It's 15.2 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 55.4 millimeters, and I can't really characterize the spacing between the lugs because there's this distinctive Roger Dubuis third lug that prevents the strap from flexing or pulling away from the case, and so it requires either a Roger Dubuis strap or a custom piece, so just measuring the lug to lug is not going to give you the right sense of how to fit a strap for this watch. Now we'll throw it on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, and I'm not even going to pretend this is a match. You can see that the lugs are right out to the edge of my wrist, and from over the top you can actually see that they're out over the edge of my wrist. I do believe you probably need an 18 centimeter circumference wrist and up to wear this well. The one dimension where it's not Brobdingnagian is actually the profile. 15.2 millimeters is not all that much for a watch that doesn't have an unconventionally jagged case flank. It should fit underneath a jacket cuff. We'll take one last look down the barrel. Again, 18 centimeter circumference wrists and up. The strap, as I mentioned, is proprietary and integrated black semi-gloss, large symmetrical scale, alligator leather, rectangular scales, symmetrical and large. That lets you know you're looking at an expensive cut of leather. You can also see it's bolstered substantially to give it volume. It has a broad folded edge, a monotone stitch on the bottom. You can see it is calfskin, and there are several different straps available. There are also several different perforation points in the strap, making this one of the few leather straps of which I'm aware that need to be cut to length, but don't worry about it. We will help you out with that when you buy the watch. You can also see that there are a couple of pairs of divots inside the clasp. So using your strap tool, you have a couple of different anchoring points to fine-tune the fit. Now, taking a look externally, you can see Roger Dubuis with a wave form indicating that this is a sporty watch. Note the combination of both media blasted surfacing and polish. Twin trigger release with knurling on the triggers to make them easier to grip. Inside, again, media blasting and polish. You can see the Roger Dubuis logo is motif that repeats endlessly. I don't know if it's DR or RD. Where does it begin? Where does it end? The clasp is substantial. This is all gray gold, by the way, which is the good stuff. You want gray gold. It's the type of white gold Rolex and Patek, Grubel, and JLC use that's white all the way through and never needs to be rhodium plated. And that's good because you'd be plating a lot of rhodium. This is a big case. The lugs themselves aren't terribly thick when you view them end on. They're polished on their hoods. They're actually satinated vertically on their side. They blend into the case band, maybe not quite as smoothly as a Portuguese or a Calatrava, but these lugs definitely aren't stepped out like a Longa. The use of satin in vertical finish is unusual in a case band where it's generally longitudinal. Now, taking a look at the crown side, there's a lot over here that's a bit wacky. First, we have what I can't quite call a canteen crown. It's more of a skeuomorphic crown, but you can see how it has a little spring-loaded pin snap ball bearing in it, and then underneath there's the real crown that's used for winding and setting the watch. Snaps shut solidly, stays shut. We have pump-style pushers. Look at them outboard, they're satinated. Then around their flank, they're polished and beveled. And then the actual body of the pusher features a knurling pattern. So there's a lot of detailing going on here. The watch, of course, has a serrated bezel that goes all the way around. This would later grow up and reach its full potential as a symbol of the later Excalibur collection. This is the Chronoexcel, but the serrated bezel would live on and multiply across the Roger Dubuis catalog. Now you can see the dial is tremendously dished like an amphitheater. So you've got outboard that track of numerals and seconds hashes. And by the way, there is Lume here. We'll do a quick Lume shot just so you can see it. Plenty of Lume, actually, to read the watch, or at least read the time in the dark. Now, the watch has a metallic finish, sort of a opaline soft satin grain in the track outboard. And if you're wondering why this goes up to 300, there are certain types of timing that involve fifths of seconds. And so that is for the fifth of second timing functions that are sometimes used for artillery and in navigation. Now, taking a quick look, we may as well just make sure this is all wound and start it up. Okay. Taking a quick look, you could see that we have a watch whose center dial is a dramatic silver sunburst with lacquered and transferred Roman numerals. Note the presence of a watchmaker's 4. And if you're wondering what that says at the bottom, HM, it's supposed to be handmade. And then GQ means Geneva quality. It's a little bit weird, but it does live up to the boast. At center, you can see that the sub-registers, one for running seconds, one for chronograph minutes, they're actually countersunk, and they have concentric patterns internally. Note that chronograph seconds and minutes hands are blue lacquered, and here we have a 45-minute chronograph counter, a little bit different than the standard 30-minute counter, and frankly, a little bit more versatile. Now, if there's one function that I want to emphasize, this watch does not have, it is a hacking seconds function. So we do not have that. We do have almost everything else. At center, Dauphine hands, which you can see are half frosted for better contrast against the dial base. Then we're going to turn it all over and take a look at the movement, which is one of the great automatic chronograph calibers of the 21st century. And I am not exaggerating in the slightest. This is a fantastic and celebrated movement among high horology cognoscenti. You can see 50 meters water resistant. That's the water resistance of the watch. This is number 12 of 28. Geneva seal on the case. This is the Chronoexcel, but it's the RD78 movement that sets this apart. Let me see how much closer I can get to my light source just to show you this better. Micro rotor, automatic, 42-hour power reserve, 4 hertz beat rate, full balance bridge to brace against shock. You could see it actually has a micrometric regulation system of Roger Dubuis' own design with a fixing screw or a set screw that can lock it in place, effectively imparting many of the advantages of a free-sprung balance. You can see the Geneva hallmark on the bridges. You can also see that there is a bridge structure encompassing the Roger Dubuis branded rotor, almost like a cage. And a lot of folks ask, what's the difference between this cross, this 3-bladed cross used by Dubuis, and the 4-bladed one used by Vacheron? Well, Vacheron uses a Maltese cross, whereas Roger Dubuis uses a Celtic cross. So that's what that repeating motif is across Dubuis dials, movements, and cases. We have an exquisitely black polished capped column wheel, Geneva style, that features both black polish and a fired blue screw. And you can see this watch features both blued screws and black polished screws. All screw heads are black polished. Their slots and circumference chamfered. Wheels for the chronograph, clutch, and the drivetrain all satinated. We'll do our best to show the beveling, and probably the best place to show that is on this cage over the balance. But you can see that the beveling is mirrored anglage, truly beautiful and hand finished. We also have Côte de Genève across the bridges as well as over the cage, mounting the micro rotor. We have a combination of a beautiful hand-tuned lateral clutch and a column wheel, and all of the steel components of the chronograph are satinated on their top and beveled on their side. It is deeply beautiful. And if you look over to this side, you can see easily that all of the jewel and screw sinks have also been internally mirror beveled, which is deeply impressive. You can also see that the Côte de Genève are the real kind, laid down by abrasive wheel, because they have a darkness gradient from one side to the other. The springs are delicate, fine, handsomely finished, and beautiful in every sense. They are graceful and gossamer. And this movement almost belies the style of the watch in which it is mounted. It's an interesting dichotomy. You have something on the front that is brash, in your face, and unrepentant about it, and then on the back you have a movement that looks as though it could go toe-to-toe with a longa for detailing and outright beauty. And you know what? That's what makes this watch unique. I'll also say that it has some of the finest column wheel feel I have ever encountered. If you're into this watch, you're a rare breed, but you're not going to be disappointed. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for pricing.